Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I need a weapon.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and today we've got a Project Mjolnir update. Now, I've already put a lot of this stuff out on social media, so some of you may already be aware what I've got to show off. Obviously, our last update, I updated obviously that the BDU is now sort of in progress. £7,800 to get it done, but it's now, the ball is rolling. And the frame components were being printed, were being changed over from filament to resin. So, filament one. My office is a tip, I'm in the middle of So, I showed you this one. I showed you this one last time. So, it showed the filament frame and obviously the repair job that I had to use with resin in order to fix it up. And I also made it clear that this was quite, sort of not the finished frame, there still had to be additional components added to it. Well, we've done that. We've added additional components, and what we have is, well, very nice. So, before anything else, I'll just show you a few other bits. So, we're going with the Halo Infinite style helmet in this regard, hence this, but of course you'll notice we're missing the mouthpiece and the brim of the helmet. Now that was actually an accident, it was a failed print effectively, or partially failed, because I can still print that additional piece and just adhere it with some cyanoacrylate and it'll be fine. But it actually seemed to actually be of benefit or use, with the exception of the brim, but a new brim's coming. I'm in the process of printing it. I've also got the rear of the helmet, and it for some reason failed similarly. It failed in the last kind of 10% of the print, but that's inconsequential. But the mouthpiece is actually quite useful, because originally, obviously, we were just going to do very similar to the two helmets behind me, the Mark 6 style mouthpiece, just the normal, like we got here. But we encountered an issue. Obviously, the helmet is supposed to be fully functional. It's supposed to have a full frame inside of it, breathing systems, audio systems, torches, the HoloLens for the heads-up display and everything else. So we encountered an issue with the audio. Now, I went through a few different permutations, including using an array of smaller loudspeakers. So this is basically so when the helmet's on and I talk, you'll be able to hear my voice outside of the helmet. And it seemed logical that the voice would come roughly approximately where the mouth is, so it comes from an expected source when you're talking. I know it's odd to make too much due consideration to that, but it just felt important to me. So we tried it, and I actually built, if I show you, so we have a little speaker here, which is still wired up to the little amplifier. So that's the speaker driver there. And we had it planned. I've got a slightly older version of the frame here. We had it planned. There we go. So this is a half of the jaw frame, the forward jaw frame. And you'll see there's a bit of hot glue from when we tested it. But there's a little cut out here, and that allows the speaker to sit perfectly actually in the mouth guard, the frame of the mouth guard. And when I mounted that inside and got the electronics sort of roughly tacked in place on the bare bones frame, and put the microphone inside, instant feedback, like instant, just loop that awful squealing you get when a microphone's too close to a speaker, and you just get that awful feedback. So we thought through a few different concepts, a few different ideas, and we settled on an idea which, for some, may be slightly controversial, but I think it makes a lot of sense. We settled on a design on the mouthpiece of this version of the helmet that bears striking resemblance to the Halo TV series Mouthpiece. Now, like as we know, Mark 6 normally looks like this, but the test piece we've made here. Oops, wrong camera. It's right here in front of me. So the test piece we've made looks like this. Now, obviously, this is new, the vent at the front, but these vents at the side, if you've seen the TV series, are actually they're on the helmet. Now, that's where we initially just had a flat face here, and I initially tested the idea of those 4 smaller speakers, but it just didn't work. There wasn't enough. The audio clarity wasn't very good. It was very like tinny and not much bass to the voice. It wasn't very loud, even with the amplifier, and it just didn't quite work. So we adapted it again, and obviously this is resin printed because obviously the nose of the print failed. So obviously we've got the pock marking from taking off the support on the inside, but the speaker sits perfectly through complete accident. I might add, it sits perfectly in the front here. So what we've done is we've updated the model again. There's now actually a plate that will be put in between these two, which will allow the cabling to come out, but it can be sealed. So that's great because it means that it separates the external component from the internal environment of the helmet, and the little vents are just enough to get the audio to come through. And like I say, it's a relatively decent speaker. A relatively decent little amplifier as well. And if I just... Obviously this is loose. That's what we were getting, right? That's awful, I'm sorry. That's what we were getting. But now, once we have the blast plate in place, and we tested this just by putting like a piece of card behind it. Because if I bring the microphone now in... Sorry, that was really loud and that was really close, I'm sorry. But once we have the card there, it's not an issue. But now, that means that this microphone can be stripped off of the thing that it's on, and it can be mounted internally of the helmet, and...
I need a weapon.
It was a cheap impression, you know.
But it just makes a lot of sense, and it's remarkably clear. Obviously, bear in mind what I'm doing here is talking into a microphone, so it comes out of a speaker, then goes into a microphone, and then comes out of your speaker, after YouTube compression algorithms, so it might sound significantly worse on your end than it does here, but this is actually remarkably clear. It's got good bass, good like depth of voice, not too tinny, not too bassy. It's not muffled. There's basically no line noise, so this can be integrated and we can put a little board in there that will help with voice activation and be able to seal it off effectively or turn it off internally through chinning a button, which is actually something that's in the law. I'll stop talking to you through that now. It doesn't make a lot of sense that I keep doing that. So yeah, so we'll be able to integrate that into the helmet frame, and now we'll have the loudspeaker. It will still look aesthetically like, if I show you with take the speaker out. Once it's in place, you know, again, ignoring the fact that it's black and the helmet is grey, it actually looks quite at home on the Mark 6. So I think it makes sense, and personally I love the aesthetic, because it's somewhere between like a hybridized, somewhere between like the Halo Infinite, Halo 3 kind of style helmet, and the Halo 4/5 style helmet with that slightly larger mouthpiece. It just, something about it I'm really gravitating towards. So that's general stuff, components and the BDU. But obviously we've moved on a lot since then. So I printed all of the frame components now. All of them were assembled. I'll be putting up, you know, the montages of assembly all the way through this video. You would have already probably seen parts of the assembly process. But now, with still some temporary things in place, let me show you its features. So what we have, without breaking it, like I said, there's a few temporary things still in place, but this is what we have at the moment. So we have the HoloLens permanently mounted inside the frame. This is the frame that will eventually be printed in aircraft's grade aluminium 7075. The HoloLens is permanently mounted inside. There's still some tipping weight problems, and I'm working on a final version of this back bracket here,
You can see there's a cable tie around it at the moment, which will hold this back unit, because obviously this back unit is adjustable. There's actually a little knob just here you can turn to adjust the strap fit of the HoloLens. That's quite important. And if I put something that's solid in there, I'll then lock that rear unit independent to the front of the HoloLens. Then you can't adjust it. So I'm figuring it out. But nevertheless, it's mounted permanently inside the HoloLens. We've also got renewed breathing systems, breathing ventilation systems built in now. So they've got larger diameter fans, so they run at a lower RPM and they're much quieter. They also move a more impressive quantity of air. They're still HEPA class 15 filtered and activated carbon filtered, and there's a large particulate filter in there just for like dust and stuff like that. So those tubes actually, trying to get a good angle. So those tubes, as you can see from the front units here in black, they lead back to these little junctions, Y junctions here. Now those junctions then normally go to this piece here, which fits to. I'll partially assemble the helmet in a minute so you can get a feel for it. But those loose tubes go to these fixtures here on the inside of the vents, so that air can be cycled through. And when I'm designing some custom vacuum valves. Some motorized vacuum valves that are very small, that are able to seal off the external vent if needs be. And when it does that, it will automatically slip then to the other part of that Y splitter that will eventually have a tube going down the neck, underneath the neck armour, into a custom rebreather tank in the back of the armour. That will give breathable atmosphere for a duration. On top of that, we have the torches are fully integrated. We're going to reroute the button, but they're still ridiculously powerful. They're powered by a single 9-volt battery, and they are ridiculously bright. It doesn't quite get across on camera because obviously the camera automatically adjusts to different brightness levels. And of course, we've also got the cables here for the breathing fans as well, to be able to cycle air through and keep you relatively comfortable inside for breathing wise. Because one thing I did notice without having those in place is when you put the helmet on, especially with the shell as well, it can feel quite claustrophobic because obviously your breath is heating up the internal area. That completely removes it altogether. Like I say, HoloLens is integrated. We got the torches are integrated. I printed with some specialist ultra clear resin without trying desperately not to break them. Please don't break. There you go. So I printed with some ultra clear resin some lenses here. These are actually, I printed them at 10 times the size. I modelled them at 10 times the size. Because I actually made the model so there's internal voids and internal lenses. So inside on the 10 times the size model, I made a cone lens and a fractal lens built into the singular unit. Then scaled the entire thing down by a factor of 10. Then printed it. And to what I can see, it does actually. The lenses are still quote unquote there. They're still focusing the light, which is fantastic. So really the next big thing I should do is slip the shell onto the front and give you a demo of exactly how this thing looks when you put it on. But like I say, we're still tweaking things. There's still a few, like I say, a few other components that need a few adjustments. I've got the rear of the helmet as well, but like I say, the back, I'll show you in a second, the back side of it failed very similarly to the way the front did. In the last sort of 10% of the build, it just decided not to work. I found out why. It's due to the filament feed-in on the printer. The gear that grips the filament and pulls it through just got gunked up and needed to be cleaned. So now the teeth are clean, it's gripping properly, it's pulling the filament through. I don't know why it waits until the last 10%, but it does. So we have the back. See, it's failed again, but again I can slice this independent, print just that part and then adhere it. Obviously the final shell will be a single unibody and it will be printed in titanium grade 5. as a single shell. And I've already tested by using the two halves of the old helmet sort of stuck together with just like gaffer tape. I can assemble this frame in its larger component pieces. I can assemble it inside the shell, so that's great to know, because then it means that when we get the frame machined in aluminium and the shell 3D printed in titanium, I know that I can then physically assemble a metal aluminium frame within a solid unibody titanium shell without too much of a problem. There's still a little bit fiddly to get in at the right angles for certain bolts and things like that, but all in all, it's looking good. Right, so I've just slipped the shell onto the front of this, and I will put it on for you to give you a proper demo of what we've got here. So that's slipped on. Obviously, ignoring the cables that are still they're going to be truncated through the frame, but once we've got that in place, we can slip it on like that, and obviously, again, ignoring the mouthpiece here, again, that will eventually be covered over with, obviously not in black, but there we go. You can see, hello. I've got the breathing vents right near my mouth here. That's enabling then, so basically one of these, I believe on this side, this sucks air in through this vent, filters it, and then pumps it just into my, in front of my mouth here, so I can breathe. And when I breathe out, the other one is an extractor vent, and that pulls it out, filters it again, and then pumps it out of this one. Obviously, the button for the torch, that's being rerouted. So that's going to be rerouted to at the front here, because this is right near my chin. I can actually chin and touch certain parts of this front brim with my chin. So it should be relatively easy to go ahead and put sensitive buttons that I can just tap. And like I said, the brim, once in place, will cover this. We'll have an intake here for air circulation, which can also be sealed. And the HUD system, like I say, is being upgraded. We've got the Halo Infinite HUD overlay now, and we've got a load of other features that are going to be coming online in due course. That'll come in another update. But all in all, this is sort of where we are with the helmet at the moment. Looking pretty good. And like I say, you can put the shell on the back, but with the missing part at the back, it doesn't quite give the same, the same nice finished, polished look, so to speak. I just got to take this off. There we go. So, in fact, I will just attempt to put this shell quietly on the back if I just tuck some of the cables in. There we go. So all in all, we're making a lot of progress. There's a few things, like I said, that need to be tweaked, and a few other adjustments that need to be made. But aside from that, this is all pretty much going where it needs to. And obviously, there's a few components here that are temporarily tacked onto the frame with cable ties and the like. We're going to make permanent fixtures. That's not going to go on there for now because of the cable ties. They're in the way. But we'll make some permanent fixtures for those to hold those permanently. This is where we are. So the helmet is actually genuinely coming together. We're nearing a stage now where there's less and less I need to do for the helmet. There's a few tweaks I need to do with just a couple of components. Then really it's just the fitting of the remainder of the components internally, and fitting these last couple of bits, like the mouthpiece, the brim, and the back of the helmet, and then locking it all together. And then really, we've pretty much got our fully functional prototype. Then it'll be time to send off the files to get machined and printed, and then it'll be time to transplant all this electronics gear over onto the fully machined version, and then fit the visor, which is going to be made of transparent aluminium, of which I've already spoken to a company to get that sorted. So that's where we are with the helmet at the moment. BDU's still on the way. Heating and cooling system is still fully functional. I'm hoping in the next couple of months we'll be at a point where I can actually finally showcase to you guys a fully finished BDU, fully working and integrated heating and cooling system, fully integrated biometric sensors, and a fully finished titanium helmet with all features and all guns blazing. and really drive home just how possible Mjolnir is. Again, I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who supported the GoFundMe so far. If you are available or able to support the project in any regard, you'll find the link in the description. Thank you so much to all the people that have donated since it first went live a year ago, right the way up until now, where I'm seeing like regular names, the same names come up month on month on month. So they're actually, it's almost like they've set up kind of a direct debit or so. It's just amazing to see that kind of support, and all of you guys commenting and sharing these posts and getting this out to a wider audience. We've, like I said, I've posted the pictures of what we've got going here on Twitter, on Instagram. I think it's found its way onto the 405th. It's over on, I think it's found its way to Facebook. It's on my Discord. It's on my YouTube channel. I've even got some comments and interaction from some of the guys at 343 Industries as well, which is just phenomenal to realise that it's even being noticed by the games developers themselves. It's so humbling, but it's also so exciting to be able to be in such a privileged position to be able to do this, and I have all of you guys to thank for that. So thank you so much for continuing to support the project. I will give you updates as often as I possibly can, and there'll be pictures posted here, there and everywhere. If you want to keep up to date fully with what's going on, I'm very frequently in my voice chats on the Discord. You can find me in there showcasing the things I'm doing at the time, or you can watch me watch the building process. But at the moment we're surging ahead, and I just want to extend my thanks and wanted to show you what we've got so far. So this is really shaping up to be cool. It's such a cool thing to actually have and to be able to look at. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Right, well, thanks everyone. Take it easy and find peace in the domain. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking and subscribing. I just want to give a quick shout out to my patrons and YouTube members: Spartan10148, my Metarch; Dylan, Falcon X003, Kenwood, Irrefutable Justice, Leon, Neek and Ramiz, my monitors; Alvin, Andrew, Brand, Brian, Cameron, Chris, Darian, Devon, Flaming Halo, Greenblood, Kyle, Legions Lost, Michael, Prophet Bear, Spartan and Wolf, my sub-monitors; my fleet of Strato Sentinels; my diligent enforcers; and all the other awesome people that have jumped aboard to support the channel over at Patreon. Another shout out to Todd Morrison, my Transcendent YouTube member. And just one quick reminder to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord. Much love from 00. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.